showed.
So, I'm Cynthia again, the host of the reality series, CPS the Horror Stories. You already know about me. This is Courtney again, part 2. We're going to finish up hearing her story. Courtney, go ahead and give us a quick intro, who you are, and kind of what you already have said in a nutshell.
Okay. I am Courtney Greenwood. I am my daughter's, I'm first and foremost a mother that ended up stuck in a really nasty, horrible CPS case regarding with toxic family and drama back and forth, and using CPS as retaliation, and not taking in consideration of the children. So saying they want to, and they are putting the children first and their needs first. It's not that at all. I mean, removing everybody that has raised children since they were all for the first 8 and 9 years of their life out of those children's life abruptly, as if nobody loves them or cares about them, they just all disappeared. It's just, there's no way you can justify that to me or anybody else that is healthy. You know, that is something that's in the best interest of two children, two vulnerable little girls, to be quite frank. My daughters, my biological mother we've always had a toxic relationship, and come to find out she had been plotting behind my back since 2012 to sue me for custody of my children. The type of relationship we have is I got sick and she knew I had a lot of chronic illnesses before I even turned 18, and went and got me maxed out on life insurance instead of just sitting there being by my side and encouraging me to fight, you know, the medical and field and prove them wrong like I have. That was not with her support. In the previous video, there will families come up and about, so it's kind of been shown how the kind of what I've been dealing with, you know, with some of the comments that were on part 1. But that's kind of, you know, where we're at. My kids were basically state-sanctioned kidnapped from me by CPS, my biological mother, due to the fact that I had chronic and physical illnesses, and I was tied up with all the court-ordered stuff that I couldn't get to the doctor to get stable. So I ended up literally quite dying, and that's how they removed my kids permanently from me and adopted them out, was based off of my physical medical condition and lack of bond.
So yeah.
That's the nutshell.
The nutshell.
Yeah.
So where did we leave off?
Kind of, I guess, about where they were in foster care, and their court-appointed NEFRM friend of mine we built a family safety plan of 12 months with CPS on board. He was going to even be my supervision so that I could participate and see my daughters more than 4 hours a week, putting them to bed, bedtime stories, dinner. We lived one street away from each other the entire time. I at one point lived next door to my daughters during the case, and they never knew it. I watched them go to school every day. I watched them come home from school every day and unload out of the car and go into their home. I followed all rules of CPS. I was terrified if the girls knew I was right there. I knew. I'm not terrified. I knew my daughters would be leaving and running away from the house they were staying in to come to me. So kind of where we were at. The reason they were removed and we were able to gain I don't want to say control, but I was able to use my parental rights that were still intact, to leverage my children into this individual's care due to the multiple placements that they had put them in, that they had suffered sexual and physical and emotional abuse in both homes provided by El Dorado County. So we got them up there with him, and my family, my biological blood family, did what they do best. They pounced and like, she's dying. Do you really want to take care of these girls for the next 13 years? You don't even have your own life. You're just turning 30. You're just building your own life. It scared the living bejesus out of him, and he backed out of our family plan 6 months in. Right when I was in the hospital, sepsis.
Who was this?
This was our court-appointed NEFRM, Teddy Bear, the one I referred to as Teddy Bear, the girl. I grew up with him since we were 12 years old. We were best friends, thick as thieves, growing up. We'd known each other for close to 20 years at that point.
And he worked with
the Big Brother program. Yes. He was doing great with them. My daughter was doing great. The one that's now going to be a 13-year-old fifth grader this next year, she wasn't behind. She was actually looking into being able to get back into her normal grade when they were living with him. I need to pull up a picture on my phone. I think I have it of, there's a birthday card that was sent, a thank you card sent to my father by my oldest daughter this year, a month and a half ago. And it looks like a 5-year-old wrote it. Couldn't even write and spell simple words like you and money, and she's going to be 13. It's a cry for help. I mean, you can see this child is not, she knows the information. She's refusing to partake. She's refusing to participate in class and school and continue to grow with her education. It's not that she doesn't know the material. It's that's her way of shutting down and shutting out and, expressing she's not pleased where she's at. So the kids were they seemed so stable, and they were stable where they were at in the Nephrem's home. I don't know how we went from them stating that biological, the one I referred to as my incubator, was extremely unstable and unfit, and she wasn't an option, that she was a loose cannon, that she could be more of a loose cannon than I'd ever could be, is what the term was used in court. Adoption wasn't an option in May 2016, that it would be detrimental to myself and my children and cause permanent damage emotionally, physically, psychologically. And I hired Mr. Davis when I was in the hospital, and my attorney refused to assist me on getting my video calls or visits with the girls. The hospital was willing to get me, all IVs covered up. So I had 3 IVs, 2 in one arm, 1 in the other, getting the round-the-clock Vinco and fluids and steroids to fight the sepsis that had gotten in my blood. And they refused to bring the girls to see me on my days of visit. They said it was inappropriate. I don't understand how going to a playroom full of toys and me looking completely normal and healthy, better than they'd seen me look in a while, because I'd finally been getting, the steroids and the fluids and all that. They refused to bring the girls to me. And that's when I just had a flame. I checked myself out AMA, went to a friend's house and spent 12 hours on the internet, found Mr. Davis, due to his previous experience with suing CPS, and taking it all the way to the top if necessary, 5-6 years of elongated, stretched out, legal process, which is what I'm tangled in. But his paralegal and he spent about 4.5 hours free on the phone with me, going over where we were at in my case before even discussing any exchange of money or anything. He wanted to know every detail, all of that, and then, offered to help me on a very discounted price. And I wish I had gotten him just 6 months sooner. I mean, if I had just had him 6 months sooner, I'd have my kids sitting with me right next to me right now. 3 months sooner. You're muted. I can't hear you. Okay. Anybody that's watching, though, while we have the downtime, I'm seeing a lot of things on these support pages that I've become a part of. And I'm saying this because I care, and I want everybody to understand that this is why I'm one of the tiny percentage, even if I did which I did, become a puppet on the string and do everything CPS said to do, I did it 3 times more than what they had asked for me to do. And it just, nothing was ever good enough. They continued to move on to a new accusation and a new accusation, and I continued to go to the state psychs, and then they kept saying, she's fine, she's normal. Like, she's not normal, but I had ADHD to the point of making others uncomfortable, rapid speech, and, intelligence that could be, utilized not in a good way, but the psychiatrist said he didn't see that built in me. It was just because I knew what the test was about. I said, can we just move on to the 5 questions that are worded differently, but the same question, and you're going to see if I answer it differently to see if there's a consistency or non-consistent answers within my answers so we can get this done and over with. And I was like, wow. I was like, sorry, I studied psychology. I just want to get this done. So we got to that point, but I've seen a lot of parents say, I don't want to participate in reunification services. I'm omitting guilt. No, you're not. You are doing what you need to do to bring your children home. You do not worry about protecting your innocence, proclaiming your innocence, or anything of that nature until your child is home safe and your case is closed. Then you go find an attorney for your rights that were violated and the things that happened that were illegal within your case that you've documented. You go find someone like Mr. Davis or his firm, and you take that information to them, and they will walk you through the steps of proclaiming your innocence after. Unfortunately, with CPS, there's kind of that stigma of guilty till proven innocent.
Right.
And you just got to roll with it. I mean, it's how important is bringing your babies back home is what these individuals need to ask themselves. And I totally get it. I totally get it. I never had drugs, as you and I talked about, never had any drugs in my system. I gave them blood. They took me in the middle of the night on the spot, took blood, found nothing. They took my hair and went back as far as they could, nothing. They did urine tests on the spot randomly for a year. Nothing. They kept spreading it from a 12-point panel all the way to a 32-point. I didn't even know there were that many drugs out there.
Yeah.
Like, the woman that was testing me was just like, I don't know. They're wasting so much money on you with these tests. We've never had a positive test ever, never had a messed up one, or invalid where I had to come back to redo it. Nothing. Child Turning Point really backed me. I had full support from the director and everything. But these parents really, if I could give them any advice, it's who cares, guilty or not, your child needs to come back home to you and be with you and be safe and not be put in these predators' hands. And in order for you to ensure that doesn't happen, you jump when they say jump and ask how high. And you document every bit of it.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Stop wasting your time. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I've tried to tell a few mothers that, and they just don't want to hear it. And I understand it. And I got very fortunate to have a case transporter that told me no F's given. No one cares but you. You need to do what you know you need to do to bring your daughters home. Do everything they tell you to and some, and don't ever slack off. She said it's going to be a relayed marathon, basically, 4 laps. She's like, your first lap is kind of like you're sprinting, adrenaline. Your second lap, you're just kind of going. Your third lap, you're about to die. And then your fourth one, you get that last bit of gas at the very, very end, but you just literally feel like you can't finish. And that's how she broke it down to me. And I've been stuck in the middle of my 4th lap for about 3 years. So right now there's multiple different forms that I can file that I have now discovered to challenge an adoption, even though it's already past statute of limitations, if there is evidence or proof of fraud within the judgment between the judges, attorneys, or the court system itself. Right. So, I mean, I just, these mothers, that's the best advice I could give to any of them, really, is just do what they ask you to do. I'm not saying sign your life away. I'm not saying sign your medical records away either. You and I discussed that last time. But unfortunately, they're going to find a way to get their hands on it anyways. County works at county hospital. County hospital can, it's going to just do, what do you have to hide? If you really honestly are innocent and you're sitting here spending 3 months not participating, not knowing where your kids are, not talking to them, have no idea where their children are. They have not spoken to them in 2 or 3 months. I mean, I know how that feels now going 3 years, but I couldn't imagine at that moment in time. I hunted my kids down when they got removed from my biological mother without my knowledge. I'd preferred them to stay with what I knew, what damage I knew I was going to be dealing with, and what type of abuse they were going to be putting up with, as opposed to putting them in a stranger's home and free for all. And there's a lot of individuals out there right now that have their children in CPS's care for just random disputes, between domestic disputes or this, that, and the other. And they're sitting here worried about, I don't want to do these services, or if I do these services, I'm admitting guilt. No, you're not. You're showing them that you are a parent that will do anything to get your children back in your home and you to be able to protect them and take care of them like you're supposed to. That is what you're showing when you jump, when they say jump.
Yeah.
It's not saying you're guilty. It's not saying that you are the drug addict you were accused to be, or the crazy loony that you're accused to be. It's saying that you're a parent that cares, and that you have instinct and parental, and that maternal or paternal instinct to go and protect your children at all costs. If that means dealing with CPS for 18 months, that means dealing with CPS for 18 months. So, I mean,
So
sorry,
you
I've
get to
seen a
see your,
lot of people right now,
yeah. Do you get to see your
refusing.
girls right now at all?
I do not. I have not seen. This is how you know that this is not for the best interest of the girls. The individual, my biological mother, is the one that has them. She has cut my parents off that I have been staying with off and on in between traveling jobs and things I've been doing with the VA and volunteer work I've been doing. And, the building of a brand that I've been trying to do for my daughters so that I don't get them back till they're 18, which I don't see that happening. They're going to act out, but that, they have something for them to idle on. But the girls, I don't get to see them. I don't even get to hear their voice anymore. When she found out I was hearing their voice, she stopped the calls with the grandparents. Why? They had no idea I was on the other end. No clue. She didn't for months. Why are you stopping the conversations between their grandparents over the phone merely because I'm in the room? Which I can answer that for you. She told my stepmother, because I destroyed her reputation. I destroyed her life. I caused her to lose her jobs because she was obsessing over me, as she is again right now. I've done all of that. No, I didn't. I worried about me, took care of what needed to be taken care of, did my CPS plan 3 times over, documented it all, tried to, fought for my right to breathe, all at the same time so that I can continue to stay here and protect my children at any cost possible.
Are you able to view the comments?
No, those gnarly, nasty ones that are on the first one.
The ones that are being shown right now.
The grandmother. No, I have no, there's comments down there. Oh, I expected it, especially since today's my birthday and everything else and all the harassment I got before. However, the comments that.
Would you like to respond?
I need to read them.
I could either read it to you. You could read.
Yeah, if you don't mind reading it to me.
I'm not sure who the person is.
Does it say Darlene Greenwood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my grandfather's wife who couldn't pass a background check, which is why she couldn't get the children. She had an ankle monitor for 2 DUIs in the state of Tennessee and didn't even have a driver's license and couldn't even use mouthwash. She could not pass a background check because, in all honesty, I would have rathered my kids with them. But I have no idea what these comments say, the new one.
That you are so full of, you know what? We have the records from the state of California. You would not show up for your visitation. You refuse to get drug tested. You still can't support yourself, much less children. You had 3 years to get your life together and you did nothing. Okay,
so let's do some common math, guys. Martin Luther King, January 2015. They detained and took jurisdiction of the children then. My PDA wasn't even sent over, which she has no idea what the hell that means, I'm sure, excuse my language. PDA wasn't even sent over for my services until May 20th of 2015. So that's 5 months into my case already, right? 5 months of services I should have been receiving. I called every day. There is a young woman that has stood by my side that worked there and answered the phone 5 days a week. And she goes, nope, you're not testing today. And I finally showed up and said, what is going on? She goes, I don't have a PDA for you, but you need to stay calling. You need to stay doing exactly what you're doing and cover your rear. They let me start the groups behind CPS's back because CPS didn't send the PDA. What a PDA is it's the financing funding for the third-party agency to produce the services such as counseling, urine tests, hair follicle tests, whatever they may be. However, if need be, which I don't see why I should have to do this, and she is very aware. She actually has one of these documents in her possession. My father presented it to them in 2016. The director of Tahoe Turning Point wrote me a letter stating that drugs were not and have not ever been my problem. Every single one of their random drug tests have come back negative. I did not miss one single drug test, and that my current issue is the lack of family support with chronic medical conditions. We have my brain scans from my multiple sclerosis diagnosis on July 3rd of 2012. My aunt was there. She's the one that took me to have those scans. We ended up having to spend 3 days doing them due to how long you have to be in that machine and how excruciating it was for me to lay flat like that with the curves in my back the way they are.
Yeah.
That literally, there was a comment that I threw my daughter down the stairs on the last one. She literally has morphed when she was at my parents' house for my youngest daughter's first birthday. She had already started walking on July 3rd. She started walking 4th. It was July 4th. I had the bib. She started walking July 4th of 2011. We had her birthday August 19th at our house. My oldest, we're sitting in the living room after doing presents, and my youngest apparently was standing at the top of the stairs. Next thing we know, we all look up and see my oldest in her curly cues. And I have this in text from Darlene, actually, with the pictures, running down the hallway, and my daughter flying down the stairs, my youngest. I never pushed my daughter down the stairs. I've never harmed my children in any way, shape, or form except for a car accident I was in, and it damaged them emotionally when we went to go to Dover to meet the body of the soldier that had passed when their father was overseas and their unit got attacked. Was taking something called bliss, and it was basically, if anybody knows what that Asian leaf is, kratom.
Yeah.
I was put on that by an Indian doctor back in 2011, 2012, and it did not react well with the other medications that they had put me on. And I lost my mind between the stress and all that. I will 100% admit that. That is the only time my children were ever in harm's way, ever, was when they were in that vehicle with me and I got into a single car, me and the girls, into a wreck with a guardrail. Child Protective Services ended up involved in Virginia. They went and transferred everything up to Maryland. I had them come visit us. My aunt, who was down here and probably commenting as well, she and her husband assumed, they were the ones to supervise me with them until we finished the investigation of everything that was going on. As soon as they found it, that I was completely, it was an isolated circumstance of my husband's unit getting attacked and, the trickle effect. I was not charged with anything. I did not even get a ticket. They dropped everything after I took a class online. Nothing. Everything was gone and white. As far as my children going anywhere for weeks at a time and me not being there, I can provide the photographs of me sitting on her porch up at her house during the week she had my children the first summer that they had asked for them to come spend a week up there and go to Bible study. The other time that they had the girls was when we moved to North Carolina, Fort Bragg. They stayed during the holidays here. We had nothing in our home. We were just going to get our keys. He had just gotten out of A school in the Army and was already shipping out to Afghanistan. We had to stabilize, get the home, get the keys, and then we drove up. As soon as he left for training, I came up here and picked my daughters up and took them to their new home. My children have never been away from me more than a week and a half before this happened, ever, and except for when their father and I were going back and forth like we were. That was the only time my children have been separated from me, but they were with their other parent. They were not with Darlene. She did not raise them at all. My stepmom helped me when I had my hysterectomy at 22. Not her. She did not raise my children at all. Now, did her and her husband provide financially for my kids and I for the holidays? Absolutely. And I was always forever grateful until I realized it came with these conditions, the conditions that we are in now. That as soon as something they don't like or they don't approve of, they don't even know the whole story. They have no idea about the photograph of my daughter's throat and the audio recording of my daughter expressing how her Nana grabbed her by her throat. And this is in 2017, after she had gotten the adoption, squeezed my daughter by the throat so hard that she went to the bone. She says, Mom, and I tried to stay so strong, but I couldn't stop the tears from rolling down my face when she reached the bone. And there's a photograph. I sent you the photo. There's a photograph of the handprint, of a grown person's handprint across my little girl's throat. Tell me one reason why that's okay. one reason why that would be okay.
The same person did happen to ask, and I just don't want to say names. If people want to know who's talking, look in the comments. What happened to your pancreatic cancer?
Actually, my thyroid. When my stomach went paralyzed due to the multiple sclerosis, they finally found out, since I couldn't take the oral zithromycin, not erythromycin, zithromycin, which is a medication to jumpstart your muscles in your stomach to get it to cramp again, which I know you know about this, having your intestines removed.
No, yes, my intestines, but my stomach is dead.
Yeah, because it stopped contracting, correct?
And
you stopped getting the bile and the chemical.
It's a muscle, and it breaks
chemical
down
that releases from your pancreas and your thyroid to tell your stomach to create the acid. And I don't have a gallbladder, and I'm sure you probably don't.
I do.
You do? Okay.
But my stomach, the thing, it's what's crazy about mine is my stomach still produces acids, but it does not contract.
Yeah. Oh, so you get.
So I have a tube. I actually have a tube
that drains it out.
That drains my stomach so that I can still eat. But you can actually see it moving right now. I mean, it just empties.
I'd like everybody to take note on how amazing you look and how much you're able to carry yourself, articulate yourself, and sound completely healthy. Just because we can be strong enough to put our big girl panties on and get on our 2 feet and do what we need to do does not mean I don't have chronic illnesses.
Exactly. And I walk around. I have a backpack that I have to carry 24/7. And it has my tube that goes from my stomach into my bag. I have to drain my bag. Then I have, the other tube right here. That is what feeds me. So I have to get food, hydration, medication, everything through this side because of the fact that I don't have my stomach that I can't eat.
So did they try the erythromycin through IV
by the time my stuff happened and they ran all the tests, my stomach was working at a 20%. And and it went from 20% in October to November to nothing in 1 month. Wow. And I was no longer a candidate for the gastric stimulator, which is a robotic thing that goes in and it helps stimulate your stomach. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm not a candidate is because your stomach has to have some type of function for it to assist functioning, but I don't have it. So
there's no live tissue, kind of like brain function. There's no communication function within the tissue of the stomach anymore.
It can't help it.
And that's what they explained to me where I was headed if we didn't get my stomach to work. Mm-hmm. And when I got down to a hospital in Placerville County, or Placerville in El Dorado County, Marshall Hospital, a doctor asked me if I was, no, it was UC Davis. That's right. It was UC Davis. And they asked me if I was willing to allow them to give me that same medicine that I had taken orally that made me violently, I would throw up and have control over it. Then they gave me the erythromycin pill, and it was causing I felt like my stomach was slipping. And the doctor was like, you got to stop taking that immediately. I'm going to do some research. I don't know where to go from here. You need Dr. House is literally what he said. Come to find out, he actually is resigned and in jail now, but that's a whole other story. But I went down and they asked me, are you willing to let us put this in your IV? Bypass your stomach, get it in your bloodstream, and see if we can't get your stomach muscles to contract. And it worked. I still get sick at times because of the buildup of the bile, because I don't have a gallbladder. I have no appendix. I have, all I have is my spleen, kidneys, and liver, and then my stomach and my intestines. They're looking at doing the diverticulitis studies and stuff like that, but I won't go finish.
My large intestines died, so they
couldn't keep the nuclear medicine down. I can't keep it down.
Yeah,
so it'll hit and then it comes back up, so it doesn't even travel for them to take the pictures that they're trying to get.
The gastric emptying study?
Yes. The nuclear gastric emptying study with and without nuclear whatnot. So yeah, I just went to have my ultrasounds on yesterday. We just had the ultrasounds of.
Yep, I remember.
All these little, nodules and tumors popping up. I mean, here's my thing. If I didn't have chronic medical conditions, how and why would a hospital be paying my freaking bills? I have no insurance. The hospital is paying and covering everything. They're not in the market to pay for someone's medical that is a doctor shopper. They're not in the market to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical bills and hospitalize me for 7 days because of a multiple sclerosis flare up and a severe infection that I had to be on IV Vanco again with calcium and all this other stuff.
Hate
Vanco, they have to go to Vanco. I know it's horrible.
Me too. They have to, because I am only not allergic to 3 medications. But when I've had Vanco, so you must have mast cell, which is where your body builds up a tolerance, and then you become allergic to everything.
Yep, I became allergic to Quendo, all that.
And when I've had Vanco, I get C. diff.
I just with the Vanco for me, it's hard to explain. I felt really I felt almost more sick for a while at first, but it did wipe out, the infections. I just kind of it was hard to explain. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I try to avoid it at all costs, but you got to do what you got to do. And here's the thing, I've got several surgeries that they want to do. I am busy fighting to protect my children. I am busy keeping a promise I made to them the very last visit we had. They begged for my phone number. They begged me not to do this to them. I didn't do it to them. And they know that I didn't do it to them. They also know that I understand that they have got to be a people pleaser with the individual that now has custody of them. I lived with her for 17 miserable years. You either kiss her butt, please her, and tell her what she wants to hear, or she's going to make your life a living hell.
Yes, that's what happened with my children too.
They have conformed, and they have just done what they need to do to survive, which is exactly what I told them to do anyways. And they know that I know. I have a tattoo in my arm that says believe in the center of it. And it's got the infinity symbol, my daughter's 2 hearts linked with mine. The B is a number 13 because my youngest daughter was the 13th C-section. All this deep meaning to the tattoo. That my daughters, we would draw during our visits and everything. My youngest, part of why I've been doing this, is she told me, Mommy, if we've got to do this and we have to go stay at Nana's like this, when you don't have us, can you help other kids not go through what we are going through? That's what I'd really like to see happen. She knew that I'm a people pleaser. I like to help those that are in need. It brings me a sense of joy that I can't really explain, but I will give my last everything to someone. And I've had to really stop and not do that because it's about my children, and I will be, I'm not. So I've been building, multiple different relationships with individuals that I've worked with in the line of work that I want to work in, working with the veterans, building tiny homes, communities for our disabled veterans, and rebuilding the whole concept of what community is and what it means and stands for. And I've been invited on that project with an individual that I worked for when doing construction and putting and installing hardwood floor in my parents' house. And because of my work ethic and because of how he knew me and what he got from me, he's invited me in on 3 other projects that are incredible. I'm not in a place to share the information until he does and makes it public. However, there is something called the Hope Project that I am working on right now. They don't know anything. They don't know me. Cynthia, the last time they spoke to me was almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago, when they had my children go from Maryland up to Tennessee because they forced me to let my kids go with them from Maryland after the wreck and all that. And we were stabilized to come up here to Tennessee. And as soon as they got here, the abusive ex-husband pounced with falsified documentation, old documentation that was not even good anymore. And the cops forced my grandfather to hand the children over. And he did. And then that's when the whole mess started with the girls being with my ex-husband and witnessing all of the crazy stuff they witnessed while he was subleasing our marital home out to other soldiers and their kids and wives. The stuff they witnessed was mind-boggling. I mean, my oldest daughter is way way too advanced. So, I mean, it's just like you see right now, it's not even about the kids. What question has she asked about the children at all?
There's another message for you.
Where's my phone? It's probably bad since you don't want to read it, huh?
You need to do some fact checking. I have never had a DWI. You are a bold-faced liar. If you are so innocent, then why have 3 states taken your children away from you?
3
And why
states.
has all your lawsuits been dropped? And all you want is a check.
If all I wanted was a check, my lawsuit would have stayed continuing. We withdrew it so that I can legally share my story right now and get the information out and help other people not have their children taken from them and whisked off into foster care's hands of, these predators, basically. You're very familiar with you working. She doesn't even realize that Mr. Davis is my attorney, that we are literally on his platform. If you read her previous comments from the last video, you need to do your fact checking and I need to, right? Maybe she needs to look into what pages she's writing on and what she's doing, because clearly she doesn't know what the heck she's talking about or where she's at writing this information right now. You are more than capable. I already told you I will sign a release form for you to see my massive file that's getting ready to be mailed to me in a box. I told you are more than welcome to fact check anything you wanted. Mr. Davis is a no-nonsense attorney, as you know.
Absolutely correct.
A no-nonsense
and he
attorney.
He can spot nonsense a mile away.
Oh yeah. He helped change my life to me. He let me know what I need you to do is work on you. Because that's what I need you to do. You need to be able to not sit here and be crying hysterically and be a blabbering mess. You need to be able to cope. You need to go get help, counseling, whatever. And that's what I did. I went and got the counseling and the help that I needed to be able to cope and grieve with basically the loss of 2 little girls, and knowing what they had gone through and what they've been through. I mean, the abuse that they went through in that foster home, the first one, was agonizing. It is what caused my stomach to paralyze, was when I was called and told what had happened to my little girl. 10th time with a grown man and an 8-year-old little boy. The first 2 foster parents were criminals with fake identifications to be foster parents. I mean, it's insanity. And so for them to even think that I wanted my children in the care of a foster care system, absolutely not. I would have much rather them be with family. But as you see, this is how the family behaved the entire time, the entire case. No one wanted to really, truly put the kids first. You cannot tell me my children, I know they want to see me and want me in their life, especially if you're healthy, mommy. Her exact words. Especially if you're healthy, mommy. I've helped take care of over 12.5 children this past 5 years, babysitting them 4 at a time, from diapers all the way to 10 and 11 years old. I'm more than capable of taking care of my children. It's just, you see the nonsense. I can't even get it to load. She has me blocked, so I can't read any of it. That's how cowardly all this is. I cannot see it because she has me blocked. So she literally is blindly attacking me as usual, which is fine. I mean, that's her character that she has to go deal with every day. I know what I know, and I know what's true, and I know what I personally experienced. And if she has the records, then it's against the law. She should not have my children's juvenile records, and you and I both know that. You cannot get a child's juvenile records from the courts if you are not their parents and you didn't have the rights to them during the time that case is open. So she just openly admitted to committing a crime. Just to let you know. That's my family. That's the support or lack thereof I have had since my first set of surgeries. My hysterectomy is where everything went sideways. So I can't, like I said, I can't see him. I've pulled it up. I've tried to look. To each your own, whatever makes her feel better. However, the truth is going to come out, and it's going to come out. And unfortunately, some of the stuff that will be coming out, I just hope will come out and go away before my daughters are old enough to realize that the world has heard and seen some of their most vulnerable experiences, even though it's going to be for the cause that they had requested for, which is to help change and help save foster children from going through what they went through. So, I mean, I don't even know what to tell you at this point with any of that, because I already expected it. I already knew it was coming. It's been coming my way since day one. I don't understand why, after she says 3 years, right? Why not change it up and try to have a positive aspect towards an individual? Why not try to have a positive, criticized way of support? Like it's all negative. It's all bashing and trash talking, as you see. It's nothing regarding the children. It's nothing regarding the children's welfare, or as she says, I threw my kids on the stairs. I had 3 open cases. 3 open states took my kids from me in 3 different states. No, they didn't. I never had my kids taken fully away from me in 3 different states. When I had my hysterectomy, my parents took temporary physical custodial guardianship for 4 weeks while I finished going through the therapy and hormone balancing. And I was there all 7 days a week. There's 3 days I was gone for stabilization, and I was there until from sunup to sundown every day. My stepmom backed out 100%. I showed up and took care of my girls every day until I got them back full custody. And I didn't rip them out of that house either. What we did is we shared. The girls stayed with their grandparents 2 to 3 nights a week, and they came and stayed with me in the home that I lived in with my roommate and her 2 kids that were my kids' age the other 5 days a week. We didn't rip them from that home. There was a routine, that kept them still with my parents, and then coming back home and me taking care of them and being their sole caregiver. And during that time, where was this individual? Nowhere around, except for, doing her thing. So it's just, I want what's best for my kids, and I know what they're living in. And the thing is the individuals that are commenting now, I have letters from every single one of them completely describing my biological mother to the T, the true her, when it benefited them and they were fighting against her for their benefit. They literally say exactly how I describe her as a human being. I have it in their own handwriting from 1992 and 93 of what type of narcissistic, psychotic individual Jenny was. Incubator, was during fighting his son, my grandfather's son, not allowing my father to have access to us, even to talk on the phone, visitation, nothing. He literally states in the letter that she uses the children for dollar signs and as pawns. What makes him think it's any different? He's done nothing but write checks for her since he's gotten into her life, and his wife is watching and she knows that's true. By the way, Boys and Girls Club's free for the kids until they're 18 due to the fact that they were in the foster care system in El Dorado County. So that check you're sending to her every month for Boys and Girls Club isn't really going there. Just thought I'd let you guys know that. So, I mean, like literally, she has ran those kind of cons my whole life. I didn't get Christmas presents from family, Cynthia, because she conned 6 individuals for my braces. My orthodontics covered it. She took the breakdown that the orthodontist gave us before insurance kicked in and had several people pay for it. It's all money for her, money. And if I'm the one looking for a check,
yeah,
I'm not the one with life insurance on myself. My kids aren't the beneficiary for my life insurance she has. She is. $2.5 million in life insurance. A big motive to freaking want to drive someone bat crazy. So, I mean, that's not caring for the children or myself, mainly the kids. What does it harm them to call and talk to their grandparents that I get to hear their voice? What is that? What harm is that? Who are they hurting?
You have 2 more comments, not from that person, but from somebody else. So I want to read positive too.
Okay.
It seems that they're trying and attempting to make her look like the bad guy and throwing false accusations just so she will back off and not keep on going forth with what she needs to get done. Courtney, horrible toxic family is the second leading cause of cases. You don't need to defend yourself against the obvious.
Thank you, whoever that was, because but I could have not said it better. They said it perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. 90% of our cases have been because of retaliation, which is illegal. Illegal. It states it on the back of the paper. A piece of paper you get. It states on the back that it is against the law to utilize a government agency in any way, shape, or form, whether it is the sheriff's department, child protective services, and I can't remember the third one, against an individual for retaliation of any kind. And that's what it is. And I'm not going to stop. I made a promise and I'm going to keep it. I will fight until I am 6 feet in the ground if that's what it takes. There's a gentleman that wrote a song that literally has kept me going, that I am good friends with, that I hung out with a lot in Lake Tahoe. And it's be brave. And it says, I'd rather die for something than live for nothing.
That's pretty amazing.
It's that I asked him if I could use that as a forefront for one of the, Save Our Children's pages. And he said, absolutely, anything for the children, anything for the kids. It's a song about being brave and going back to when we were younger and didn't have those worries in the world and, this, that, and the other, and being able to be pure and innocent, but at the same time learning to become brave and be brave and take on life. And don't be afraid to do things that might be difficult to do, or that others are trying to deter you from doing, or, in various different ways of perception, from the lyrical story the lyrical writing. But yeah, they're correct. They've been doing this since day one, bombarding me. My biological mother's motto is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. United front, keyword front, when necessary, and always divide and conquer.
Yep.
I mean, who teaches their child that? Who makes that their motto and their mantra on a day-to-day basis when talking to their, adult child and that's trying to go to therapy and rehabilitate themselves? Dr. Phil contacted me in 2014, wanted me to do a show. She did not, and now I know why. All of this was already in the making. And if Dr. Phil and his CPS workers and his attorneys that he has on his board got involved, she would have been exposed. My aunt can back that up. She would have been exposed because she already started these moving pieces with the individual that works as a manager at Family Foster Services, that walked her through the entire process on how to do this. So, I mean, they're absolutely right. It's just the kids, my family's, my parents' grandchildren, my father's granddaughters. You can't even talk to them just because I'm going to hear their voice. How is that? That's vindictive. That's about me, not about the girls. That's trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
Does not have anything to do with doing what's best interest of the children whatsoever. And what's funny is this young woman that's been posting these comments, the negative ones, she got my aunt attacked and accosted verbally by my biological mother. I mean, so derogatory, my aunt had to block her in any way possible of getting in touch with her, all because when my daughters were here, I have extra Facebook pages. I have a network of 8,000, 9,000 people right now that I'm working with on my page that I am, the admins for, that we are sitting there messaging all hours of the day and night, climbing on pages and pulling this information and that information and linking each other, trying to pull this all together and become bigger than they are, than CPS is. Basically, the movement you're a part of right now. And she doesn't realize that in that happening, people see her page when she announced that she was going to have 3 grandchildren in her home all summer, last summer. I then knew my kids were in Tennessee. My aunt got blamed for it. My aunt had no idea they were here. I'm the one that ended up telling my aunt they were here. But she got blamed for it, got cut out of my kids' life abruptly. She was video chatting them regularly, Cynthia, she was an everyday fixture in my children's life via video. And as soon as
Who was?
my aunt, and she no longer has any contact with the kids. No one does, except for the individual that's being nasty and derogatory.
You know, that same type
She
of
isolated
thing kind
them.
of happened. Yeah, that same type of thing happened in my situation too.
Yeah, if you got it, she's isolating them because as soon as they do feel safe and they see this right here that's on my arm, anywhere on a poster, anywhere on a t-shirt, on the side of a telephone pole, they know it's time. We talked about it. We implanted all of this. Are they going to be and do what Jenny says, or sorry, their Nana says? Are they going to do what she needs and wants them to do for them to be safe and get that negative backlash or what, that torture and love withheld from them as punishment as she does, and all these various different ways of abuse that she is pro at? They are going to please her. They're going to aim to please her. They're going to continue to aim to please her until they know it's time to jump. I made a promise to them. The social workers that were watching me with my kids allowed me to have this conversation with them. Our safety word, our safety picture of when they know that mommy is capable and in that position to catch, they will know. Whether this image that I have is on a shirt, on a poster in their hometown that they drive by, or anything, as soon as those little girls realize and see that image and they keep seeing it, they're going to realize where it came from because we drew it. And they're going to know, mommy's here. Mommy kept her promise. Mommy's fighting. And they will speak up, because I promise you, I have the audios, 7 audio recordings of abuse that was going on in 2017 and 2018 in that home by her. Literally, she made a statement in front of the Nephrim. Just wait till CPS is out of our life and I can handle these girls the way I want to. The heck does that mean? Clearly grabbing a child by the throat and leaving a bruise so that your ring's imprinted into the front of her neck. Then when CPS gets involved because the picture was turned in, she makes the child go to bed without dinner, doesn't tell her she loves her. She says this in the audio recording. Nana doesn't even tell me she loves me. She stayed there laying on the couch with Allie watching a movie, my sister watching a movie. And she made me go to bed without dinner and didn't even tell me she loved me. And then I had to go lay in my room and go to sleep by myself while they got to cuddle and watch a movie. Then she woke me up before the sun got up to question me about my meeting with Aunt Anna, which is what they called the investigative individual that was involved investigating. And she was coached by her Nana to lie and say her father did it. How'd her father do that to her when her father hasn't seen her since 2014? How'd she get a bruise on her throat in 2017 and 2018? And her father do it when he hasn't seen him since 2014? How's that possible? And the courts went ahead and accepted that and it right off. They didn't have the recordings though. The recordings just entered the courts in January. And the judge was highly concerned. However, her and I both agree on this one, did not want to put them back in foster care. Absolutely not. But she said she was extremely worried and concerned about these children's welfare and where they were currently residing. However, it is the lesser of two evils, was the judge's statement in the court. And she told me to keep going at it. And as soon as I found what I needed, to come back within my statute of limitations of discovery of new evidence. She looked at me in my face and told me to come back. Why would a judge do that?
Somebody said, "Can I see the image
of the
and spread it all over for those babies?"
Yeah, I've really contemplated, bits and pieces of the transcribed audio because there's inappropriate physical, sexual misconduct going on in that home between my two daughters. Yes. My youngest daughter states in these recordings, Cynthia, that her sister's forcing her to let a dog lick her in her private areas and that she doesn't want to do it and that she's told her Nana and her Nana doesn't believe her. And so it continues. I have it in audio, her own voice. I have it in written transcribed too. Her own voice discussing this is what's going on in her Nana's home when her Nana's asleep by 7 o'clock at night and the girls don't go to bed until they're nocturnal like me. 10, 11 o'clock at night. They need their 4 or 5 hours sleep, and bam, they're back up and ready to go. You know, they have that energy. So they stay up past when she does. And so she's my oldest, Force is my youngest. Yes, ma'am. And it's in her own words. I will also post this on Facebook.
What is that a picture of?
That is my daughter's neck, her throat. That right there is where the ring was on the ring finger. The palm went across the front of the neck, and these are her fingers. I can blow it up and put it on Facebook too when we're done. Why? What is a reason for any adult to have a child anywhere near that body part? Why are you grabbing the child in that body part? There is absolutely zero excuse for an adult or any child or anyone to have your hand on another person's throat and put that much pressure. This is 6 days after the fact, by the way. This is 6 days old. That bruise is 6 days old by the time it got taken, the photo got taken. And that's how bad it was, still imprinted in her throat. And she states that she squeezed so hard to the bone. And that's when she couldn't stay strong anymore. And the tears started rolling down her eyes. And that she tried so very hard to be strong, but she just couldn't help it. Because it just hurt so bad. I mean, I have it memorized because I had to have them transcribed and make sure, everything was right and matched to the audio for the court. And it was agonizing. There's more recordings that I don't even have access to that are even worse, believe it or not. But yeah, my daughter, she discusses how her sister is touching her inappropriately, forcing the dog to lick her vagina. Where's the parent? And they're not in counseling.
And it's so, really?
Yeah, she removed them from therapy, and we called and reported her, and CPS said she's their adoptive parent. She has the right to do whatever she wants at the end of the day. It's just a recommendation. It's not a court order. I said, excuse me, it's a court order. They are to be in counseling and therapy until they are 18 years old. Maybe it trickled down and not be every week, but they are supposed to be in counseling and therapy regularly. They're supposed to have a confidant and an advocate that they can talk to at any point in time and feel safe. And they don't have that. And my youngest daughter has never been left alone to talk to anybody. Her oldest sister has been sat next to her to listen.
Well, it makes me sad and disgusted that if a child is making an outcry, it needs to be believed. It needs to be taken and heard and not ignored and pushed aside and dismissed.
Agree.
Whether it's true or false. The child is saying that for a reason.
Agreed. Absolutely.
You're, in a sense, you're calling the child a liar. And why would a child, okay, let's just say it's not happening. The fact that the child is stating
willing to say that.
There's something still going on.
Amen. Thank you. If a child is willing to even go that route or go to that extreme, then they need help. They're asking for someone to come help them. They're looking for help. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, absolutely. And it's the bureaucratic BS that stopped it. Had I been at that time, and it's not the lawyer's fault at all. Like, let's get this clear. Vincent W. Davis and his law firm has done what they can within this back and forth bureaucratic monkey, what they called a kangaroo hop chaos that El Dorado County did. With their county being so large, they have several courts to move my stuff around to. So what they did is they did continuance, and then shifted it down due to conflicts of interest once I filed yet another document in motion on them. Then they moved it down to a new court. Then they got their continuance with that. So by the time I got in front of the judge, statute of limitations gone. Sorry. Literally, that's what happened with this evidence, with the abuse from the neck and the audio recording. Had it gotten heard when it needed to be heard right away, the girls would have been, whisked off and taken to a safe place and talked to by professionals. And that's why she keeps them isolated. They have nobody in their life. Nobody. from their original childhood and their upbringing all the way up to 8 and 9 years old, there is only the individuals that we see how they behave, what their character's like. Those are the only individuals that are in their life from when they were little and they were born. No one else has contact with them at all. And no one's done anything wrong to not. The reason she cut off my stepmom is my daughters that were asking about me. My stepmom's not going to lie. My daughter said, I want to live with my mommy, but I'm mad at her. She lied. She quit fighting. My stepmom wasn't going to sit there and let her believe that. She said, honey, your mom is fighting. She is still fighting right now. The reason they were even in town to see her on that day was because we were on our way to Arcadia for our conference. So yeah, I was still fighting. You know, and I still am. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep that promise. I'm going to take that promise to the grave. And these little girls are going to know that. And I know they know that in their heart of hearts. I know they do. And I know that when the time comes, because I already have it, so it's like working on it. But when the time comes and they see what they see, and they see the amount of support that they have had that they didn't know they had, one of them's going to sing like a bird. I promise you that. She will begin to sing like a bird and scream for help, and she will make a scene until someone stops and listens to her and takes her off privately away from her sister and lets her speak her piece. And then they will never end up returned back into that home again. I can put that on everything of my being, that is, if everything goes well as planned, as the backup, if court isn't going to happen fast enough to get these girls out there at a vital age. They're going to be statistics. I hate to say it. Imagine, like, I can't even think about it. My daughter being out on the streets, selling herself. You know, like foster care children that go through what my daughters have gone through and still are going through end up on the streets.
Yes, and then like you said, they sell themselves because they haven't had the proper
love and compassion
and
that is
upbringing
genuine
and explanation and protection.
Yes, absolutely.
Your one daughter who's having the dog in her fucking area. Sorry, but
no, it's all right. I know. I'm gonna send it to you. I told you I was gonna send it to you the other day, but I'm gonna get it to you after when we get off here, so you can read it and everything and all of that. You will. I mean, you literally. You're gonna. It was hard. I mean, it still is hard to say because I imagine it because I've been in a similar situation growing up as a kid because I was what you call a latchkey. She was never around supervising. My stepbrother molested me. My preschool foster boys that were twins molested me when I was 4. The first time I was touched inappropriately down there, I was 3 years old. My parents went to the Marine Corps ball in 29 Palms, and I was dropped off at some random babysitter's house, and it was time to play house. And I was the mommy.
Who was the babysitter? A male?
Cannot remember. There's male and females there. It was a mixture of various age children of all the military men who were taking their wives to the Marine Corps ball in 29 Palms Marine Corps base. I was dropped off in Joshua Tree at a babysitter that wasn't a regular sitter or anything. But some of the kids were familiar due to the barracks and, you know, the upbringing in the military. It was my stepfather at that point. She married Marine Corps again. For the stability to check the life insurance, you know, the financial, you know, hold there. But I don't know who the babysitter was at that point. I know my preschool teacher's name. We'll never forget it. I could tell you, I could literally describe the 2 twins to a T. They were 13 and I was 4. They were 13 years old and I was 4 years old. How absent do you have to be as a parent for a child that has night terrors and you can't get her off your couch at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and you got to go get her big brother to pick her up off the couch and take her to her bed because she's deliberately fallen asleep on the couch because someone's also coming in her room and touching her inappropriately under her jammies but on top of my panties. Now, remember that because I'm sending you an audio recording and you're going to hear my daughter describe that the same thing's happening to her in the house she's in right now. But and here's the thing. I was 4 and 5 and 6, all the way it happened to about 7 and 8. I never opened my eyes when I was younger to see who it was because I knew that the only people in that house were supposed to be people that loved me and protected me and didn't hurt me. And so the psychiatrist said most children at that age when it comes to being in your bed and you're sleeping, and when you wake, you've been awoken to someone touching you, typically they push themselves to pretend to be asleep. They don't open their eyes. They don't want to see who's hurting them within their own home, their own safety zone.
And I think we talked about this last time when we talked about mental issues that end up happening. This is where by DID, dissociated identity disorder, multiple personalities, all of this stuff comes out because
trauma.
They want to protect themselves and they don't want the trauma to be happening to them. So they create an additional personality to take that trauma and get it off of them.
Yep. With me, I just separated. I had what they said, dissociative disorder.
Yeah.
I would separate from myself to protect my psyche so that I could stay
innocent.
Standing. So I could stay standing and stay breathing.
Yeah.
And stay with my heart pumping and moving forward, because if I didn't, it would absolutely crush and kill me. And that's what they're counting on. My biological mother is saying, literally, I guarantee you, I can hear it right now. Put as much stress on her as you can. She'll crumble. No, lady. I spent the past 5 years working on me to be the best mom and the best me I can be for those little girls. And to be able to fight and fight and fight, and no one will ever make me crumble or crash ever again, because they've overwhelmed me. I have learned to handle lots of things at once coming at me. I mean, I'm like right now, but I'm in the middle of, when I'm not doing this with you, like, you're bombarded, and I know you are. And I apologize because I've sent 38 people to you last night, to your guys' page and to Mr. Davis's radio station that you can ask advice for, which everybody that's listening, if you have an open case, I highly recommend you get in touch with them and get in line with Cynthia and him.
Yeah, because I'm the new co-host.
To get the advice you need. He may not.
By the way.
What? Yeah, I know. I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seriously, congratulations.
It's
for
kind
real.
of exciting.
I really have.
Our first.
It's been an honor working.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I missed it live, but I did catch it after the fact when you posted it on the page. But is that mango? Just out of curiosity, or turmeric?
No, and I probably should not have done that on camera.
It's okay.
It's pumpkin spice, and it's on the lid.
I've never been a fan of the pumpkin spice. I can't believe it's out so early in August.
I'm so grateful. I know
everyone's talking about the pumpkin muffins and at Starbucks and the pumpkin spice latte or mocha or whatnot. I got my free birthday drink today. That's how I saw that. When I got my free Starbucks, it came out, it was like, come get your free drink. I was like, what? Yes. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to check that out.
Yeah.
They can you guys may not be able to give them the exact litigated law to their state or county. However, you can direct them in which area, what to watch for, what the do's and don'ts are.
Right.
Not letting them in your door first off.
Yeah.
Don't ever let them in your home. And
I love listening to his advice because it's so true, and I learn something new every time.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. It doesn't matter if I've heard the same thing over, I will always catch something new. So I do highly recommend people to not just listen once, but to listen.
Oh, yeah. Replay it. I replayed Brad's video. I've replayed several videos because you catch something new every time.
Yes.
And especially within the individuals down below that are throwing in their things. And, there's several other legal avenues right now that are fighting, that have the CPS, Let's Stop CPS, and their attorneys, lawyers, that you can write a question to them in Messenger and it's going to give them the general automated response. So how do I get my son or daughter back after they've been adopted? And so then within 5 minutes, I've got this response that I posted on the Against CPS page that I'm an admin with, you file the motion to, vacate adoption based on fraudulent, judgment and fraudulent CPS case to begin with, jurisdiction being fraudulent, that they should have never even had jurisdiction to even be in the position to adopt. That documentation in motion, going to the Attorney General of the United States, writing, contacting them. There's all that advice is out there. It's if I had this when my case was open, my girls would be sitting with me. You know, I didn't have, people need to utilize this.
Yeah.
They need to
This
utilize
is what saved my life. It saved
I
my
didn't-
kids. That's what got my kids home. You know, Mr. Davis told me in our very first meeting,
Go.
and I will never forget.
Thank you, kiddo.
I went to his office. He had me bring my papers, and very much like you, before we talked about how much or anything, he looked through my entire. I sat there, was so uncomfortable. I was just like nervous.
You felt like he might be judged. Yeah, like.
And he read through the paperwork, and then he looked at me and he goes, "Please explain to me what you think happened here." And I said, "Of course." And what he was specifically talking about, was my mediation day, because I'd gone to mediation and nothing happened after that.
Never had mediation.
So I told him, in mediation, they told me they dropped all the accusation charges against me. There's nothing now against me. I completed everything in my case plan, everything, twice.
Yep, I did it 3 times over. Yep.
Then, and not because I was asked, by the way, but because
you wanted to.
Because I'm like, no
That's
reason.
what I did.
No reason. Here.
They shut my reunification services off, and I used my California insurance to continue the same exact program I was already in for another 18 weeks. But yet, they claim I didn't do anything.
So then I told him, they told me I'm going to get my kids back in 3 weeks. That's it. You know, like there's nothing else that we need to discuss. Dropping the charges, you finish your case plan, reunification, you're going to have your kids back in 3 weeks. Amazing. I go in front of the judge the same day. He states, I wish I had an example of a paper. Did you understand everything that was said in mediation? He doesn't bring up what was discussed. And I said, yes. Did anybody force you to sign or agree to what was discussed? No. I knew what I was doing. So he never goes over what was discussed.
Yeah. So
I signed. Because what I was signing to was I'm getting my kids back.
Nope, you signed. Yep, I did the same thing.
So he tells me, he goes, now let me tell you. And he turned the paper around, and that's my paper I brought, which is dismissal or shutting off the allegations, and I signed away my parental rights.
Oh, God. See, I never signed my parental rights away.
I didn't know. That's not what I was signing.
I've never signed anything past that 12-month family plan with the Nephrim. I have not signed
they are. That's how sneaky they are. It's all in codes. So you can see my charges. Drugs. Never been on a drug. Never touched a drug. All my drug tests were negative. And I'll tell you something funny about that, too, in a second. What else was there? My health issues, that I'm too sick to be a mom.
Yeah, that was my final vacating. That's illegal. It's a civil violation of your third civil right.
And that was just because I got a job. I got an apartment. I was like, boom, boom, boom. Here, I can freaking take care of myself and my kids. And here's my support. Here's my network. Here's all of this stuff. And they dropped everything and had me sign away my parental rights. And he told me that, and I lost my shit.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
my heart has never left my body. He goes, we need to do some major work because you will lose your children forever.
Just like I just said.
And I had to, the crazy part, when they dropped the drug allegation, after they dropped it, they put me in for random drug testing.
You and I literally have an identical case.
Yeah, it sounds like
it was your mom.
Yeah, it was my mother.
It's insane.
And
how can a mother be like that?
I don't understand. And you know what I've been really struggling with lately? I'm going to say for the first time ever.
What is it? The permanent, like...
Hold on, I'm trying to get it out.
Okay, take a breath.
It's like no matter how I'm gonna cuss. So if there's children listening, please
There's
go
no
away.
children in my room.
Anywhere,
Everybody else muted.
anybody who's listening. It doesn't matter how fucked up your parents are. We as children, and how bad you've been abused or whatever, you want them around. You want their approval. You just want them in your fucking life. And I can't tell you how bad I miss my dad. I miss my dad.
I don't have that at all. I'm sorry you feel that, because I honestly don't have that at all, because I'm absent to begin with. See, my family was so absent to begin with and so estranged from me to begin with. They didn't even know me anyways. I wrote a card to my grandfather, said, "Hey, let's get to know each other. Let's go to a movie."
What about your mom? Like, did you?
We weren't close ever, really.
But you don't have. Do you? I mean, do you ever have that thought or
desire for her, for my mommy,
for her to be for her to? Okay, I didn't have a stepmom. For her to approve of you or be happy for you or something like that? I mean,
I strive for that for my daddy, my father.
Okay.
And it's really hard because he has brain damage, as they mentioned in the last post, and I actually cleaned his credit up and just got his house to where he has extra equity, all the stuff. By the way, to address that, I destroyed his credit. Yeah, he did get me a student loan, and I got cancer, had to drop out of school. That's not my fault. That where I got a student loan and didn't go to school comment. Anyways, my dad, I strive for his approval. But right now, he and I are like this because these people are going at him. And they're utilizing his brain damage.
Yeah. I want to say, Brad, that you mentioned, just joined. So, Brad, we discussed you and your case and how horrific it is.
Thank you for sharing your story. That was insane. But I feel for you. I understand. Yeah, I feel for you. But at the same time, because I crave that with my father, but he's always been there to his ability with his mental state. He has no cognitive reasoning. That part of his brain is asleep. And so there's no way for him to really be there emotionally for me or anything like that. Like when we were reading the comments, I didn't even read those comments until yesterday, last night. Because I didn't need to. I didn't care. I read them last night so that I could be prepared for this, you know. And I read them out loud, and my dad was screaming and cussing. They are so full of it. What that blah, blah, blah. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. As I'm reading all 7 screenshot pages of this comment. And he's just like, and for me, he does have a brain injury. He does have the mental mentality of a child in certain situations due to the brain injury he has. And here his family is putting him in this predicament of attacking him.
And I have to tell you, I was kind of nervous to do the second interview, as you know.
Oh, I was as well.
What was being said about you. And I'm like, one thing I do want people to know on this channel is this is a platform for parents to tell their truth. This is a platform for parents to tell their story. Most of the time, I do try to get documents,
for verification.
But that's not my job. I'm not representing you. I really don't care if you're lying or telling the truth, but this is your truth. This is what you feel
lived or how I feel. Yeah.
And what you see. And my job is just to listen.
And share, in comfort, and share the experience, share your wisdom from your personal experience as well. Kind of like a comforting of you're not alone kind of thing. You help a lot of people feel and realize that we're not alone. We're not alone in this at all. There are more than we could ever wrap our head around of individuals that literally have false CPS cases, have lost their children over a family dispute, a family fight. It's insane. I mean, it's
you
insane.
And I talked about this, and I want to tell people, don't call CPS on a family member or friend.
Step in and say something before you do anything like that.
Or because you feel you want to get back at them for something.
And it's not them. You're hurting those children.
Exactly.
You are putting children in predators' hands doing so, and you're just as bad as that predator at that point, and you are no better than the other person or the other criminal, is
Yep.
how I feel. If you pick up that phone and you call CPS just because, oh, that woman pissed me off, or she stole something from me, or she did me dirty, I'm going to call CPS on her.
Yeah.
That's the kids you're hurting, not her. I mean, yeah, you're going to hurt her and him, but those children, you literally just facilitated sexual assault and human trafficking. Congratulations. How do you feel
Yes.
about
And
it?
people do not.
I have a family member that was duped. She really thought she participated on the other side. We've discussed her and she's made comments. She was duped. She was played. She was told that I was going to be getting these services, that the kids and I were going to be going to therapy and counseling together. They wouldn't allow me to go to counseling with them. I didn't even get to sit in their meetings, their weekly meetings. They straight up said in front of their nephew, no, mom's not coming and is not invited to these meetings, even though she has a right to, because she tends to derail everything we have planned. Word for word is what they said. And he has proof of all of this. And like, that's when he realized, hold on, that they're not even giving her a chance. Like, she's not even getting a chance. And so that's when he reached out to me and, we started to work together and all of that. But my aunt was duped. She thought we were going to be getting counseling. I was going to be getting assistance where being a single mother with a ex-husband that wasn't paying his child support that was court ordered and never paid a dime of his child support that was court ordered. I was solely taking care of 2 kids on my own, lost our entire livelihood when he got kicked out of the military overnight. I filed for the grievance thing. They didn't give it to me because they would have had to admit certain guilt of higher ups that they weren't willing to do. I had the second longest congressional investigation in the history of the country. I'm not proud of it, but that's how bad their father and I got back and forth. That's how bad their father got with the military and like doing illegal and wrong things by taking stuff from the base and stuff that he shouldn't have. We had live explosives in our house. I had live explosives in our home on Fort Bragg with 2 babies in it and had no clue until we started. I invited the investigators in the home. They were like, oh my gosh. And they started collecting all this stuff in our home we weren't supposed to have. That was military equipment. But like it's just, you cannot, I'm with you. You cannot call CPS, but child's advocacy, maybe? Like, is there, a family, domestic group? If you feel a child is needing assistance, reach out for an advocate.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to help create a platform for and see how we can actually get advocates that are on call in every city and county, that the police department, when they encounter a minor, the advocate gets called, sits with that individual and that minor and gets to know them for at least 10 minutes before a state agency is coming in and taking jurisdiction over this minor. Because mom got drunk in public and was, drunken in public charge, and 14-year-olds with mom, and now CPS, here you come. Like, that shouldn't be happening, but it is. So, like, someone wrote, I do see some of the comments. Someone wrote, Tahoe is corrupt. So they're very clear on where my case was. The office that my case was in has already been shut down twice by the FBI.
Wow.
Twice.
Amazing.
They had just reopened 5 months prior to opening my case and taking jurisdiction of my children.
That's crazy.
The Lake Tahoe office had been shut down for 2 years for child and human sex, or for the child sex trafficking and state sanctioned kidnapping. Every single social worker and person involved was fired, and some put in jail, some sued. The 2 that survived that investigation were the 2 that had their entire hands on my case. They were the only 2 that had survived each closed down and shut down by the FBI. And now the FBI is up there investigating them again. Rightfully. They have more open cases, sweetie, in the Lake Tahoe Basin than they do in Oakland at times. Explain that to me when the population is like 1/8. And the Lake Tahoe Basin of a 10-mile stretch or 5-mile stretch in South Lake Tahoe in diameter isn't large enough for you to be detaining more children than an inner city where there's way more danger, way more children than minors on the street that you could be taking jurisdiction over. And like you've talked about, it's all about this.
Yeah.
All about this.
And
I feel like
you showed me a picture of
if
your girls.
I had money, because that's what my biological mother threw at the courts, money, 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 money. They're the ones that removed my children from her home. I did not ask. That's another thing that I get accused of. Why in the world would I want my children 2.5 hours away and with a total stranger that I have to get to know and know their dynamics and their way of communicating and their way of treating an individual when I already had her clocked for 17 years? I already knew her moves. I already knew what she would and wouldn't do and the damage she could or couldn't do to the children. I would have much rather them stay there where we could go heal together. Let's go heal together. Let me finish the last part of my mommy issues and let you get you girls started on getting through your PTSD and getting to where you're not going to be a statistic. I need my daughters in counseling. They are not in counseling. Does it sound like a child that's having their sister do that has any business not being in therapy?
They should, period. Whether that was happening or not, being removed from their mother, they should be in counseling.
She doesn't want them talking to individuals privately. Go ahead.
I hate to cut us short, but is there, I know we keep, because there is a lot to talk about, but is there anything else that you want to say?
First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Davis, Vincent Davis, and for all of this. He had told me back in 2016 at a conference that he was creating this. He was working on it, and it's just incredible to actually be sitting here with you, as a couple years later. And I appreciate everything you do, and I really need, like you had said to everybody, CPS is a last resort, you guys. CPS is a last resort. It takes a village to raise children, especially nowadays. Pull together, put your differences aside, and figure it out for the children. It's really not that hard. It isn't. When you look at that innocent child, that should be all it takes. Imagine where they could go and get put at if you make that decision to make that phone call. And don't do it. Find another way. There's always another way. Reach out, get advice through this. And then also, parents, don't waste your time trying to prove your innocence. Jump when they say jump, and also ask how high. And do what you need to do and document every bit of it. Then go proclaim your innocence once your child is safe.
And Mr. Davis has said, it's not about trying to prove that you're right. It's just about getting through the case.
Yes, absolutely. It's about getting through the case and getting the results that you are needing and wanting, that the child needs and wants.
Yep.
Getting the child back to safety and back with their parent where they belong. Then you can scream as loud as you want. Then you can go and do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's the best advice I could give to any of y'all. Trust and believe. You don't want to be sitting in my situation, because there are 90 more loopholes you have to jump through, and they're high courts that you've got to get to, and they are not easy to do. I mean, day and night, I'm working on it right now, networking, just to get into that court, So thank you. I just want to thank you for everything.
I appreciate you getting on again and sharing
I
all
was
the truth.
nervous after everything, but I know what I know. Yeah. And I know what I walked, and I know what I have on recording, and what I've heard, and what I've seen. And that was enough for me to stay strong and go ahead and get on here with you and address some of it, if that's what we, like we did. So originally my plan was not to, acknowledge that negativity, but then it followed on to this video. So I appreciate you helping me address some of that and everything, and everybody else's support too. So just everybody needs to stick together.
Yeah.
We're getting larger than they are, and that's what matters, numbers right now.
Well, we're getting larger because they keep taking our kids.
Well, yeah, that too. That's what's so hard. Like, people need to pay attention, to the stimulus that might come out. There is an attachment to it that is regarding your children. Pay attention. Pay attention. They're trying to pass a law for the age of consent for sexual conduct is very low. It's a toddler's age. They're sneaking it in and writing. I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah.
They're trying to make the consent of sex for a minor is like 4 or 5 years old, saying that we are sexual beings by then, and blah, 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 and that we would eliminate pedophilia and rape and this, that, and the other if we were allowed to discover and explore our sexual exploitations when we start to feel it at 4 and 5 years old type explanation. It's sick. So pay attention. Also, your children going to school, if they have any symptoms of COVID, they will be detained for 14 days and Child Protective Services is getting called. Take your child's temperature before you send them to school. Yeah, Arizona right now, there's several kids that have been detained and the parents didn't get any warning, nothing. They got a call after CPS showed up and took off with their kids and put them in a hotel in quarantine for 14 days and the parents get no contact with the child. And they now have the open CPS case. Voila, they solved their problem of children not being in schools. So you guys watch out, pay attention, keep your kids close. And my shirt. Save our children.
Yeah, add your info that you told me earlier into the comments.
Okay, yes, I most definitely will. Thank you, Cynthia. You try to, I hope things get better for you today or calm down.
Thanks.
Have a less chaotic day.
Yeah. All right.
I look forward to your next video and watching and supporting the next individual.
Tomorrow.
Yep. Thank you, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye, sweetheart.